Today, we're going to be talking about a different topic. And for that, I've invited a very important guest, a VVIP for us. Her name is AMITO. AMITO is also a co-facilitator, co-trainer. She does the same kind of stuff, sharing knowledge and skills with people around various corporates, various organizations. But AMITO has a very specific and special role that she does, which is called matchmaking. So what is matchmaking? You know what? I'm going to just hand it over to AMITO and let her explain to you what matchmaking is all about. AMITO, welcome.
Hi, Raju. Thanks for having me here.
My pleasure.
Okay. Well, so for matchmaking, so in general, we hear about this term is usually about dating and relationship and marriage in particular. But my role as a matchmaker is more in the corporate world. So
Okay.
corporate L&D, so corporate learning and development world. So you as a trainer, so in this training market, there are so many different trainers available.
True.
Just like in the dating world, there are
Yes.
so many singles,
Yeah.
good quality men and women,
Yeah.
and just the same as in corporate L&D market.
Right.
There are so many great trainers and available in the market. But for my clients, how do we know that it's a good match for them or not? Because there are different style approaches and different ways of doing things.
Right.
A trainer that is really good for one client might not be a good fit for another client.
Totally.
So that's what one of my major role is an agency business owner.
So if I understand you correctly, you're saying you find out your your clients' needs and their culture, and then match the right kind of trainer to, for those specific needs and culture and style.
Yes, exactly.
Excellent. Wow. Okay. So I'm sure my audience would love to know, why are you here today? Why are you helping me do this podcast?
Well, it's actually my honor to be here. So the only reason why I'm here is because of Raju. So I've met Raju. How many years have we met now? Like 5, 6 years?
More than that, I think.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay, yeah. So
because COVID was 3.5 years already.
True.
It was, I think closer to probably 7 or 8.
Wow.
Long time.
Yeah. So when I first met Raju, and then I seen his training, it's very engaging. Like, even though it's like I've seen so many trainers over my past 13 years of being in training industry, and Raju is one of the top trainer on my list.
Thank you.
So I have been engaging. I've been engaging Raju for some trainings for my clients. Yeah.
Especially in specific topics.
Yes.
That you felt that I was particularly good with, so you use that. Great. Okay. And one of the key objectives for today's podcast is really just for us to have a chat and understand. I understand you brought out the topic of DISC, and DISC is a communication style. So we're going to be talking about that, and I'm hoping that audience members, people who are listening to the podcast, will actually gain some value out of this, so that they can learn from it and use it in real life. So I'm going to reverse the scenario around. It's not me asking you questions. It's more about you asking me questions. And then, of course, we will both share and add ideas and input on that.
Yeah.
So what would you like to ask?
So a lot of people might have heard about different tools in communications, because in communication skills, there are so many different approaches, and D.I.S.C, this is one of the approach and tools that we both are certified in and use. And so for this psychometric tool, so can you maybe explain a little bit to the audience here, like what is D.I.S.C?
Sure. So your question was, what is DISC? Now, in the market, if you go online, you will find there's a lot of different so-called personality tests, communication styles tests, leadership tests, DISC is one of those. One of the big misconceptions is people tend to call it DISC personality styles. Personally, I don't agree with that at all, because personality generally means you are born with this personality. So pretty much all your life, you're going to be that personality. Now, DISC has a couple of what I share as golden rules with people.
Right.
One, DISC is not a personality style, it's a communication style, which means at any given time, you change your hats around and you can be a different style of communicator.
Right.
All of us have all four styles. When I say all four, it's D.I.S.C, 4 styles.
Right.
Everyone has them. You cannot have only D or only I. You will definitely have all 4 styles. So what's the point of learning it? Well, when we are dealing with people, we need to understand what is the most prominent style showing up in that person.
Yes.
If they are acting like a D type at that moment, then I need to understand and recognize it and then be able to use the right approach to deal with a D type.
Right.
If it's an I type, then I deal. So obviously we'll talk more about what those 4 styles are, but that is the whole principle behind DISC, is understanding what my style is, being able to observe you and decide within the conversation that, okay, she seems to be a C right now.
Yeah.
So based on that, how should I communicate with her? If I continue to use my own style to communicate with you, it may not work.
Yeah, exactly.
So that's the whole point of having DISC. And like I said, in the market, there's so many different ones. I'm sure you are familiar with Myers-Briggs, MBTI,
Right, yes.
you know, your Enneagram, and there's so many other ones. I found DISC to be the most practical one, because you can literally learn DISC in 10, 15, 20 minutes, and then be able to start using it immediately. With MBTI, it's got 16 variations. I have to figure out my 4, then I have to figure out your 4, then I have to try and match those 4. It's just more complicated.
Yes.
Mind you, they're all equally good because they really help you understand the person. But I don't think we are in a conversation because I want to totally understand you as a person all the time. I want to be able to get this communication done in a successful manner. When you walk into a communication, you have objectives in your mind. You're trying to achieve something. I'm trying to achieve something. So our whole purpose is to make sure that our communication goes smooth. You meet your objectives, I meet my objectives as much as possible.
Yeah.
It's never going to be 100%, but as long as we both consider it as a win-win, we walk away feeling satisfied.
Yeah.
So that's what DISC is all about.
Yeah, very well said. And I remember, like, my client asked me about what is the unique selling point of this, and comparing with other tools, as we mentioned, MBTI and other tools as well. And I found that this is like really easy to understand. It's also the first step of getting to understand, having self-awareness of what their communication style is. And D.I.S.C with only 4 style is so easy to remember, because if we don't remember, it's hard for us to apply.
Yes.
Yeah. So
very true.
Is so simple, and it's a good cutting point, entrance point for that awareness building.
True. True. So you're familiar with DISC. So what style are you generally?
That's an interesting question, because in different scenario and situation, we use different style.
Right.
So before I come to this podcast, I actually was in a workshop just now. And so I was acting as a role player.
Okay.
So I have been engaged with another agency, brought me into that project. So I'm being a role player for a management workshop.
Okay.
So at the end of the workshop, just now, I was having a reflection myself, and I shared that with the group, is that being a role player myself actually broadened my style, flexed my style, because naturally, I'm more an introvert person and also quite mild and gentle. But because I have been in this role player project for the past few years, I actually get to exaggerate a different style. For example, in that role player, that I play the role of being a really arrogant, high achieving team member that is hoping to get, well, not hoping, but requesting to get a promotion,
Once
which
more.
I deserve it.
Once more, yes.
And there was like acting arrogant and then being aggressive, and which is not my normal style.
Yeah.
But actually, I found when I have been in this environment of flexing my style, when I'm in the real world,
Yeah.
I know when to be gentle.
Yeah.
But sometimes if I need to be rude or direct, actually, direct is a better word.
Is a better word, yeah.
So if I need to be direct, I
Right.
could be direct.
True.
At that very moment.
And you're very right, because I found that a lot of times people, how do I say this? People are very funny. If you're too soft with them, they take advantage of you.
Yes.
So sometimes you need to be a lot more firm and direct. Now, yes, we can be aggressive, but there's another word which we tend to use a lot in training, which is assertive. So I can be assertive. I don't need to show anger, but I can generally show people that, hey, I'm not very happy. Right?
Using that feeling
exactly.
at that moment is
that's
the
not
right
my
thing.
normal style either, but sometimes you need to use it to get things done.
Yes.
So if you're a manager, if you're a colleague working with peers, you need to show that firmness, assertiveness, confidence, not overconfidence, but confidence.
Yeah.
To say, this is right and this is how we're going to do it. So, and that's one of the styles that we're going to talk about. So what's your understanding
I
of...
actually haven't answered your question about which style am I.
You are, yeah. No, you answered it with your first sentence. You said, in different styles, I'm different. So, and after listening to that answer, I was already satisfied, because that's the true essence of D.I.S.C. It's not about what your style is what style you're using at any particular moment. Yes. But okay, going back to that initial question, generally, what is your style?
I. But
Generally,
I know that you're also an I, but and actually you have a higher I than my I.
Very much higher, yes. Because you did mention that you're generally an introvert, and being an I is generally an extrovert. So that's why, even though we're both I's, you're an introvert I, I'm an extrovert I. Right?
Yeah.
So that's why my I will come across much higher than that.
Yeah.
Now, again, there is no good or bad style. High I or low I or medium I has nothing to do with how good or bad you are.
Yes.
It's just understanding, oh, this is the style this person communicates in. So it becomes easier for us to effectively communicate with them. That's all.
And it's like taking a snapshot at
that moment.
Person, at
yes.
that moment. Yes.
And that's the critical magic word there. At that moment in time, what style are they? Right?
Yeah.
So, when we talk about the individual styles, just for the, to help everyone understand, a D style, I'll share a bit about what I understand of D styles, and you can add on your...
I will take a sip of...
Oh, please do. Yes, I'm so sorry. I
like listening to RAJU's talking. So I'll let you do the...
I'll do the talking. And once I've shared my opinion, please do share yours, because people do see things in a different way. And everyone has their difference in opinion, which is absolutely fine. So in my understanding, a D-type person is someone who is, they have positives and not so positives in every style. So starting with D, the positives are, they are very direct, they are achievers, they believe in end results, they are not generally worried too much about the how or process, they're more worried about what at the end of the rainbow.
Yeah.
What's the pot of gold there?
And why? Why do we do it?
Yeah, that's it. And then, so what they need is, they can be very blunt, very direct. They want answers yesterday, not even today. They want it yesterday. If you delay in answering them, you start seeing their so-called anger. But the anger is not always perceived as screaming and shouting. Their anger is more about the facial expressions showing you how impatient they are.
Impatient.
So they will be, they listen to you and they'll go,
yeah. I'll be like clicking my pen.
So can we do it or not? That's what they want to know. Just tell them a yes or no.
Yeah.
If you start saying, well, 5 years ago, he's already losing it, because they don't want that.
just give me the answer first.
Exactly.
And
Yes or
explanation
no.
later.
Yeah. And if they ask you for more information, that's the only time you give them more. But even then, I always suggest to people, even if a D type asks you for more information, give it in bullet points.
Yes.
They don't want essays, long stories. So, storytelling is great, not with a D type.
Yeah, not in the moment where we need results.
Yes, exactly, because they really want to get to it, and get there fast. So they also don't like people who are doubtful, show uncertainty, show less confidence. So when you're talking to a D type, ideally you need to use words that are not, I think, this will work. That one, that's not a good sentence.
Yeah,
You say,
you think?
I believe this will work, and here is why. So the tone, the choice of words are very critical when you're dealing with a D-type person.
Yeah, wow, yeah.
Right?
It's very, very true. My second style is actually D. So I could be impatient sometimes. And then, so yeah, you described it very well.
I'm curious, when you say you can be, we can all be D at certain times. So in your case, because you mentioned you're an introvert, but you're an I.
Yeah.
So at the occasions that you can be a D, why would that happen? Or with whom? What kind of people? It won't happen with your clients, I'm sure.
Well, I would be a very soft D.
Okay.
If there's no direction or there's like going nowhere, then my D would come out and then gently, subtly
push them in a different corner.
ask them like, it's time for us to make a decision now.
Okay.
And let's do it.
All right.
In a soft way.
Yeah.
Because I'm client facing.
Obviously, it's a client. Yeah. So in other scenarios, where would you really have your D come out? When you're a customer? When you're in a restaurant?
In a restaurant, well, we usually get what we want in Hong Kong, so it's fine.
Yeah.
But when my D comes up, mostly in the case where, in a client meeting sometimes.
It does? Okay.
Yeah.
You know where mine comes out? Mine comes out when I'm checking into a hotel.
Why?
My background is hotels. I used to work for the Hilton. So when I'm traveling, and I travel a lot, as you know, I'm traveling all over different countries to do training. When I'm checking into a hotel and you get these really funny answers sometimes. Checkout time is 11 a.m. Check-in time is 3 p.m. I'm going like, you don't need 4 hours to clean a room. I know that because I used to work for a hotel. But okay, you've given me your so-called policies. 11 a.m. is checkout, 3 p.m. is check-in. Okay, so when I'm checking in at 2:50, 2:55, and I still have to wait till 5 o'clock to get my room, that's when I lose it.
Yeah.
That's when I lose it. Because that's when I'm going, okay, you broke your promise. You said 3 p.m. I didn't argue with you. Okay, 3 p.m. And you said, please wait. I'm waiting.
Right.
I'm waiting 2 hours. That is not acceptable.
Yeah.
So that's when I actually end up going, nope, call your manager, because this is not acceptable. So that's when my D actually shows up. With my customers, yes, it has also happened where I've turned around and said, I'm sorry, I won't be able to do this piece of business.
Yeah.
Especially when you have certain clients who'll ask you for 17 topics and they want to cover it in 2 hours. With a good size, with 100 people. See, we've all come across this.
I would try not to roll my eyes.
Yeah, I know. I know. And the worst part is when you tell them, okay, yeah, that's still possible, 2 hours then. But it'll end up being more of a lecture because, 100 people. Oh, no. We want everyone to get a chance to practice. I'm going like, huh? That's when I say, okay, listen, I really can't do this.
Co-facilitate the room.
I need about 10 or 12 trainers along with me and we can do it for you.
Yes.
We have a limited budget. I'm going like, you do it yourself. That's when my D comes out.
Right.
So D's, but I actually find D-type customers are actually the easiest to work with.
Yeah, it's the most efficient.
Yeah.
Conversation I have.
No waste of time. They know what they want. They know how fast they want to do it. They know how quickly they can make a decision.
Yeah.
No messing around. No wasting time.
Yeah.
So those are actually, for me, they're wonderful. Now, I know people have difficulties dealing with D types. It also depends on how quickly you're able to move your hat around and switch. So let me ask you this. If a husband is a D and a wife is a D,
wow,
what happens?
Well, you know, the husband need to do something.
Why is it that husbands have, you know what, I always,
of relationship.
Yeah, I agree. We've noticed with a lot of examples, husband D, wife D, what happens is there are two options that could happen. One option is that they end up splitting, so it becomes a bigger D, which is divorce,
right?
Unfortunately, right? Or one of them has to change.
Adjust.
One of them has to. All right. Now we found that, and I have to be very careful because we're on podcast and I'm streaming this. Nowadays, the world is becoming a lot more complicated because you can't just say man and woman.
Yeah.
Because nowadays, husband and wife doesn't always have to be man and woman, right? So I mean, but for the simplicity of understanding the tools, we're going to go with husband and wife being a man and a woman, just for a simplicity. We found that if you calculate numbers, it seems that men tend to change a lot more at home. So they don't remain D, they actually change. So a lot of the husbands I speak
those
to
are the
in
men
class,
who stay in marriage.
Yeah, they are the ones who stay longer in marriage, and they become more like an S type, or even an I type, but a lower I, not too I, because as you know, D's get like, okay, stop flying,
fed up.
Yeah. So we found that if you just look at the numbers, statistics, it seems like men change more. But please remember, and I'm saying this to everyone here, it's not a guarantee that the man will change every time. There's still men who will be D at home and the wife becomes an S or a different style. But statistically, we found it seems to be more the men.
Actually, the other day I was like scrolling on my Instagram and I saw that there's and wisdom reels that came out, and then they said, so like if it's a relationship, whether it's a marriage or not, I think if two person has similar style and then one of them need to adjust at that very moment, it's the person said, there was one example, like if they go home and then they say, how do I say that? So when one time, if I go home and I tell you that I only have 20% of my energy to contribute to this conversation or relationship, and if the other person could say, hey, I could do it, I could be on your back, this time I'll do the 80% contribution.
Right.
So every time the relationship is having 100%.
Yes.
So
and it's a give and take. Yeah, it's a sharing.
20%, and then maybe this time I could, I step up and then I adjust.
Exactly.
So that we both have a win-win.
And I think a lot of the men that I've spoken to, and please don't quote me on this, this is just an example based on conversations I've had with men. The home is the woman's domain. It's their kingdom. Now, again, like I said, I have to be careful saying that because a lot of the women nowadays will say, hey, we're not just meant for the home and it's equality. I totally agree. There's a lot of fantastic women out there who are working as well as taking care of the kingdom. But the mindset of the man is that, well, this is her kingdom. So why do I want to get in her way? So the easier thing for me to do is say, yes, boss, whatever you like. It's a lot easier and it makes the relationship less complicated, less conflicts, and everyone's happy.
Yeah, happy wife, happy home.
See, and that's where the sentences came from, right? Happy wife, happy life.
Yep. Okay, so we have spoken about
D in detail.
In very detail.
But because D, most people find it the hardest.
Yeah.
That's why I think we're spending a bit more time on them is relevant. I-type, which is you.
It's the fun type.
Us.
Yeah.
Which is us. I-type are generally creative, very enthusiastic, very energetic. They seem to have energy unbound, like they're always full of energy.
Yeah.
So when you have a meeting, and if it's a noisy meeting, you can be assured there's a lot of I people there.
Yeah.
Right? So I are that way. Now, the problem with I-type is the good thing is they're optimistic. They believe everything can be done.
Yes.
Unfortunately, that also becomes their negative because they're not practical enough. So if I'm a very high I and you tell me, hey, Raju, can you do this? Without actually thinking through the process, I will probably say, yeah, of course.
Like me coming to this podcast
Yeah.
without any preparations. And I have to confess, like Raju sent me some like form of questions and asked me to like take a look.
Yeah.
I only took a look this morning.
That's okay, because those are mostly guidelines. And what we want is we just want to make sure that you're comfortable doing it, and but it's more of a conversation. So it's a sharing of ideas rather than any kind of a script. So no scripts. We haven't planned any questions. We just know we're talking about D.I.S.C. So we're going to talk about that, right? So I-type people.
And if we are not the same type, I think I would be in trouble. Like say if I'm the I-type who is like so spontaneous, creative, saying yes to everything and then not getting prepared sometimes.
You will have problems,
and then if you are the other type, you might be disappointed. If it's an S person who are more people-oriented, for C person who needs details, if I don't send you the question before coming here, I think you would say, please come next time. And then for D,
C-type needs more details, definitely. So we'll talk about C-types in a while. D-types just don't want you beating around the bush and not getting to the point.
They'll probably give me a 5-minute briefing before the podcast.
They will.
You could do it or not.
Yes.
Yes, then do it.
Yes.
If not, then.
And then if that is the D-type, right? And then the C-type will say, all right, so you understand what the podcast requires? Okay, good. Tell me what is required. They want to check back. They want to check back to make sure, right? So that's a lot
I will be like, I don't know. I would know what I will say when I say it.
We'll see. We'll see how it goes. I-type are very spontaneous. No, I's are very spontaneous that way, and they are. See, when I said the negative is also optimistic, is because they're not practical enough, and that is, if somebody was to question them and say, "Okay, you believe you can do it. How are you going to do it?" They have no answer. Because they haven't thought through it yet. They'll just say, "Don't worry, we'll do it." So I keep pushing and say, "Okay, but how?" Then comes the magical sentence, "Trust me."
Trust me.
When people say, "Trust me," don't trust them. Seriously. Because that actually shows you that they have not actually thought about it, but they're just confident. They're always confident, always optimistic.
And they're always very good at getting away. With their likability and personal charisma.
Relationships. They're very good with building relationships. And I and S have a similarity. They're both good relationship builders. The difference is I initiates the relationship. S is happy to be part of a team, part of a group, part of a relationship.
And keeping the relationship.
Yes, that's exactly right.
I'm not necessarily very good at maintaining it, but initiating it, yes. But keeping.
Well, and that's why all of us have. Now, if it is a relationship that you really value, you will maintain it. You will go out of your way to maintain it. So we will turn into that S when it's needed. If everyone listening is going to be able to say, all right, I know Nikita is a C-type and I'm going to meet with her. If that's the case, then I can go prepared. So I'm consciously ready. And I won't get frustrated when she asks too many details because I expect her to ask details. She's C-type. So all I want people to do is from subconsciously, change it to consciously. And then we deal with people better. So maintaining a relationship, you can, as long as you feel, I need this relationship. I value this relationship. So I need to prepare. This is, and I know he's this type, so I'm going to do this type.
Yeah.
Conscious. That's all.
Yeah.
Right. So moving on to the next one, which is the S type.
S-type.
Right. S type is almost the same as an I, except that, don't worry about it, except that they are just a little more passive. I types are more take initiative. They're outgoing. They're extroverts.
Right.
S are more happy to be where they are, happy to be part of the team. So that's why when we suggest people, when you're talking to an S type, don't use words that make them feel that you are getting them to stand out.
The spotlight.
They don't like it.
They don't like the spotlight.
They don't like spotlight.
Yeah.
So if you use words like, oh no, you know what? We can all do this together, or we will all be, they love that.
Yeah.
If you tell them, hey, if you do this, everyone will look up to you. No, thank you.
I would probably like it.
Yeah.
For S.
Yeah, S won't like it. I always wants to be in the limelight.
Yeah.
S don't generally like it. But if you use words like, for the sake of the company, for the sake of the team, they're more than happy to go along.
Yeah. We.
Yes.
Us. Are
We,
the magic
us,
word.
together, all those words are magical because they're the foundation. And they're the ones who actually create harmony in the team because it's togetherness.
Yeah. And something that I like in the workshop sessions, and when S are there, they're people that are so gentle, and then they often, when they talk in their little S circle, it's like, oh, you go first.
Yeah, you go
first.
Yeah.
Oh, let's listen to everybody. And actually, in a meeting setting, we often might not notice them, but it's time where we need to ask them to contribute.
Exactly.
Because they might not initiate, or
They
might
won't.
not be so proactive and raise their hand to
They
voice
won't.
out their opinions, but they have a lot of consideration of people, how this team want things to be done. So
Exactly.
it's great to invite them to, hey, so, we have heard everyone.
Yeah.
And then
How about you? What do you think? Now, having said that, please remember, a lot of times the S-type people, when you tell them, what do you think? No, I'm okay.
With everything.
Everything.
I agree with what Jason
So they
said.
need a little more encouragement to speak. It doesn't mean if you ask them to speak, they'll speak immediately. I-type, even if you tell them, hold on, don't speak, they still will. Oh, let me just share one more idea. One more. Exactly.
Yeah.
Let me ask you this. When you ask the S-type from a group to present, do you actually name them and say, okay, Amito, will you share your group's ideas with me?
I'm usually very friendly style. It's like, RAJU, maybe you could help the group
Interesting.
to share what you have discussed.
Okay.
We'd like to hear from you.
I do a slightly different way because, as we said, they don't like to be put under pressure. They don't like limelight. So I usually set the scenario up front and say, we have a whole day of session today. I want to make sure that everyone on the table has a chance to speak. So you guys decide who wants to speak first, who wants. Only towards the end of the day, if I find someone has not spoken, I will ask you personally to speak. So in their mind, they already know.
They're ready to
I can't run away from this, so I have to.
Okay.
And that little kind of a fear factor, but it's not a heavy fear. It's a mild fear. It works. Because they get a chance to pick the easy topic or the topic they're comfortable with.
Like to speak
exactly.
Yeah, that's very good tips.
Yeah, but we make sure we let them know, listen, everyone has to be involved. So you choose when you want to be. Right?
Okay, yeah.
And as a group, they decide, so it works out well.
Yeah. And we look at that person.
Yes.
Facilitated tricks.
Yeah, all these tricks, yes. And we have to use them because imagine if you have a few I people on each table. Nobody else will get a chance to speak. It's only the I's. Right? And the D's will be just sitting in the corner and rolling their heads. Oh God.
And it's like, okay, this is what you have discussed, right? Point 1, 2, 3. Like after 3 minutes, this is only 3 points that you made.
And they have a tendency of repeating themselves. Even if they say they have 5 ideas, if you listen carefully, I-types may actually have only 2 ideas. The other 3 are kind of repeated and a combination of the first 2 ideas. So it looks like a lot, but actually if you drill it down, it may be only 2 or 3 real ideas. So, but it's just different styles. Again, going back to my initial statement, and I don't want to sound like a parrot, but it's something people need to realize. It's not a good or bad thing.
Yeah.
It's just a style.
Yes.
Communication style.
Yeah.
So coming to the last one, the C.
C.
How do you deal with C types? To you, what are C types?
C types are people who are detail oriented and they like fact, data, things that are concrete, and like, wow, what else is in there?
Evidence,
Evidence, yeah, proof.
Yeah.
They like
So,
plan.
yeah, if you tell me
written
something,
forecast.
I'm not going to believe it just because you told me. Show me something. Facts, statistics, numbers, whatever it is that you show them. Share an example of where it's been used before. I might accept it. Right?
Yeah.
Examples,
Proof.
yeah, some sort of a proof, whether the proof is in the form of numbers or it's in the form of how will you handle groups like this? Well, 2 years ago we had a group like that, and if you share that example with them, they can relate because it's something that has been done. They are not very high risk takers unless it's a very calculated risk.
Calculated risk.
Right?
Yeah.
So, I mean, risk is fine, calculated. They don't like to jump into something without realizing what's at the bottom.
Yeah.
They're not going to jump.
Yeah.
People will jump.
Yeah.
They'll go like, oh, we'll see what happens.
They jump.
C types, yes, highly, highly detail oriented. Now, again, within C types also we have levels. There can be some that are so extreme C type that they will ask you for every minor detail.
Yeah.
And I types get frustrated because that's immediate opposite to their style.
Yeah.
They cannot take so much detail. D types start getting frustrated because we're not getting to the main point. Let's get to the end.
Decision?
Yeah, get to the end. So, but C types are very useful for every group.
Yeah.
Otherwise, we'll be jumping around doing stuff that is not even important or necessary or a priority. Yeah. So C types actually help us remain honest to ourselves. Or and to the objectives.
What is the word? Reality check.
Reality check. They are the anchors.
Yes.
Because I types will jump in 5 different directions and C type will say, hold on, guys, hold on. So why are we going with these 5? Yeah. And it's a reality check. Yeah.
Logical,
analytic. Yeah. All those words that we hear about. Now, in obviously in our language in Hong Kong, in Cantonese, they have many other words, that they become very picky, fussy, they go into so much detail that it drives you crazy.
It's irritating.
A lot of times when you deal with certain types of functions within an organization, you will come across those.
Right. Yeah.
Such as?
Financial controller.
Finance, legal teams.
Yep, compliance,
exactly. But you know what? They're doing their job.
Yeah.
If they didn't do that, all these companies will get into serious problems.
Yes.
So they have to do their job. They're doing the right thing. To us, it feels like, oh my God, you're checking all the time. You're not trusting me. We just need to understand it's a job that needs to be done.
Yeah. And I actually like working with C type because I know that I'm in generally I type. So I need someone to give me the reality of what's actually going on. And they are very helpful. They are quick in doing research. They are very skillful at doing research. Top research or.
Did you meet Fanny, who used to work with me?
Did I?
I don't know. I'm not sure. Maybe you did, ladies, Fanny. Right? Yeah, the two were Vianne and Nikita.
Oh.
Not those two young girls, but
I think I haven't met.
Okay.
Fanny. Yeah.
Fanny was my reality check because I'm also I, and she was the one who kept me grounded.
Yeah, grounded.
Like, wait, why? Yes. Because I think it's right. Why do you think it's right? And she used to. So it kept me grounded. And all I types need to have someone like that to keep them grounded because it just brings. You don't jump into everything without thinking.
Yes.
You at least look before you leap, right? And all these idioms that we hear about, from, words, poetry that we hear about, look before you leap, right? All these things come from the fact that, I types tend to jump. They don't think twice, they just jump. And C types will say, hold on, before you jump, Have you got your parachute?
Yep.
Oh, I forgot my parachute. Right? So all 4 styles are important to an organization.
And there's a nickname for C sometimes.
Which is?
Wikipedia.
Wikipedia.
They
Nice.
know everything. They're very knowledgeable, and because they like doing research, they have large database in their head.
Yes.
So whenever we go to them and ask them maybe just very simple terms, and then they'll be like, "Oh, this is the definition," and they have read it before.
They are
somehow.
Ready.
Yeah.
That's why for meetings you will find that C types are the ones who come very well prepared.
Yep.
I types are the ones that walk in with a meeting and go, "Oh, are we having a meeting?"
Oh.
That happens. That happens, right? So all 4 types are important in any organization. It's just a matter, and we all have all 4 types. So it's not like you can't do it. We can, but that's not our primary style. So like my primary style, definitely not a C.
Right.
I'm not detail oriented, but there are times when I'm dealing with a C type client. I do switch.
Also need to be more C,
because otherwise they'll never buy into my ideas.
Yeah.
So
we need to adjust and flex our style to adapt to that situation. What's the best style for that moment?
So let me ask you this: we're almost at our 30-minute podcast
really?
mark.
Wow, that's quick.
Yeah. Which of the styles? Give me 2 examples. One is where you have had the biggest challenge with a particular style, and one where you have very successfully been able to handle one that you felt was difficult initially.
I would say the most difficult, challenging one would be DC person. So the person, so DC if it is in a D.I.S.C report, it's called a perfectionist.
Yeah.
So they're both very result driven, but at the same time, you need to have details, data, evidence to support
everything you say.
Yeah. And for me, as a more I type person, I find it hard for me to I really need to train myself and deliberately do research and then convince that person. So I have had challenge working with DC type of person, and I try to adjust myself. And that actually after a while, and this is also a successful case as well. It's the same person. Yeah, is it? It's the same person.
Exactly.
So in one approach, so I start to be more C, so that knowing that this person needs more evidence, used case, case studies to support whatever I said. Whatever I said, every idea that I mentioned, I need to have backup.
Have some information ready for it.
I can't just say that I feel like this is the right direction, this is the right thing to do.
You know
I spot the trend.
I think this will work. That sentence will never work. I think why do you think? Well, because, and then you have some backup. That backup is critical. I don't have a problem with D types. I don't have a problem with C types. Even though I'm I don't have a problem with C type because I just mentioned Fanny.
Okay.
The Fanny that was working with me, my partner, my financial controller.
Your left right hand.
She was very C, right? In the right way, not in a negative. So because I had to deal with her on a daily basis, I got used to that. I know if I'm going to talk to Fanny, wait, hold on, better not run into it. I better make sure I check. So that one I can. My biggest frustration is dealing with S types.
Oh, okay. Because there's why?
I'm energetic. I ask for response, no response.
Okay.
And being an I, sometimes I people don't care if someone has no response. They will still continue talking.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
So I'm going, but I missed that opportunity of, I could have involved that person, but I tend to. Now, luckily, being a trainer for all these years, I have been able to kind of balance it out a bit. But if I had to choose among the 4, for me, S would probably be the hardest because it takes a much longer time.
Yeah. And because they are such a, how do we say that? They don't like to offend anyone, so that they might be very kind with their words and then also soothe you out. But then we never get the result that
we don't
want.
get it done.
Yeah.
Exactly.
And then, but you
Exactly.
still feel good. But after a while, because we are in business, so
Yeah.
we need to have results.
No substance.
Yeah.
Right?
So
Yeah.
even if we have a good relationship, but then it might not mean that we have any
True.
other.
Very true.
Yeah.
Now imagine at home, and this is an example I actually gave in my book. I wrote a book on
Yeah.
P factor, right?
Yeah.
One of
People
the
factor, P factor.
people factor, yeah, the P factor. One of the examples I gave is, men, women, whatever, we change, we evolve,
Yeah.
we don't remain the same. So when you have a guy who is trying to date you or court you,
Caught me.
court you, right? They will go out of their way to do things,
Yeah.
right?
If they want.
Yeah, because they want to get to know you, because they want to have a relationship with you, they will do everything possible. What time do you finish? Midnight. Don't worry, I'll wait for you. They'll come and wait for you. And it's raining, they're holding an umbrella, but they'll wait for you. Why doesn't that remain when they're married?
The motivation is out.
I don't know. See, and that's the thing, people change. So just because you were a D or a I at that time doesn't mean you are now. So, and the reason I'm using this example is because I just want people to realize that because you met someone 3 years ago and they were a D, does not mean that today they're going to be the same. Or for this scenario, they're going to be the same. So we need to view every conversation as a new one, and decide today, this moment in time, what is she?
Yes.
And then base it on that.
I think next time we should talk about situational leadership.
Yes.
So it's basically it's the same person, but in different situation, different
will be
tasks,
a different person.
We need to use different approach to the same person.
Very true.
And actually, I remember, so you asked me about one challenging case and also one successful case. So I want to share that DC person. So I try to match his style first. And then, but slowly, because I start to match his style, and then we understand each other better. Well, basically, he thinks that I understand him better. So he is the boss, by the way. So that's why I need to adjust.
Okay.
I needed to adjust. And then slowly, I kind of subtly influence him to see that being myself
it's not a bad thing.
Has values adding to that business relationship. So when that person see the values that the other type of personality or style brings, then this person will also shift a little bit to move towards my style, because we want to work as a win-win situation.
Right.
So I think the beauty about understanding our own style and matching the other person's style doesn't mean that we'll forever be mirroring the other person.
No.
But we are influencing each other.
So as well.
It's an interaction.
Yeah. Because if you don't understand the style, you're not even going to get your point across, because they're not listening. So that connection is important, but at the same time, the connection does not mean that I will totally follow what you're saying, or you follow what I'm saying. That's not the scenario. So, Amito, thank you very much for being on this podcast with me and sharing your wonderful ideas. For everyone here, all I want to say is that I hope you got some value out of this podcast and from the definitions of D.I.S.C. If you do have any questions, feel free to contact us. We're more than happy to communicate with you on a one-on-one basis, whether it's by email, whether it's logging into our website or Instagram. You can send us messages and we'll be more than happy to respond to you. Thank you for listening, and I hope you got value out of it.